That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is Commissioner Cooper out of the bright lights of the studio and up in the mountains of North Carolina. I wanted to help out, of course, everyone out here as well as check on our own cabin for my own personal usage, of course. But let's get things started tonight. We got a great show for you. Brian Scott's going to bring you inside the medical tent. We're going to break down everything to do with Week 5. And then, of course, we got Chuck Bass playing his fantasy hits. And our boy, Mr. Mallard, going to give you some sophisticated starts. It's time for TSS Fantasy.
Yeah! Here we go!
It's time for TSS Fantasy.
It is Commissioner Cooper.
I could do a whole 49ers show right now.
Ready to rock out with my gavel out.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Don't sleep on my Patriots,
I think we're ready for football. This day.
Joe Burrow with this wrist, I'm curious.
I find you guilty of all charges.
And although you consistent force in this
He's developed some really great chemistry.
DJ Chuck Bass.
This guy has been doing it ever since coming off.
I hope you like the way I pimped
He's
you out.
made 4 targets in all 3 of the classes.
Game for the touchdown this year.
You know, the great thing about being a football player is you don't have to take a shower to go to work.
There it is.
Yeehaw! Let's get things started tonight. Figured I'm out here. I can hear the banjos playing way out in the distance over here. No, I'm just kidding. All right, well, let's get things started tonight. We got a great show for you. Let's, of course, introduce my co-host, the host with the mostest, Mr. Jesus himself, Justin Herrera. Welcome to the studio. Oh, you're on mute. Sorry. I was like, is that me?
It is 9:45, and I'm feeling like an old man right now. I'm ready to get my rocking chair and rock back and forth till I fall asleep. But I'll tell you what, Coop, I love it when you go out into the freaking the wild and the wilderness, because if you're really out in the wilderness, you'll still be able to hear the shotguns of the hillbillies fucking partying all night long, and I love it. I love every second of it.
Luckily, where we're at out here is pretty chill area. Not a lot of the banjos or shotguns going off at night, thankfully. So we're good on that aspect. Of course, got to worry about wildlife. So hopefully, we don't have any bears come up while I'm doing this right now. So that'll be interesting. That'll be fun to say the least. Okay, so of course, let's pay the bills first. If you're watching on YouTube, do us a solid, hit subscribe, hit like, do a comment. Little things stopping you from doing it, but big things popping for us when you do. So we appreciate you doing that. Also, if you have any lineup questions, please don't hesitate to go ahead and throw them in there. I'd be happy to answer anything for you. Also, don't forget, go to Underdog Fantasy, use a promo code TSS. We'll double that deposit up to $100. Lots of great fantasy games on there. You can parlay anything all over the weekend, so make sure you go check it out. Use the promo code TSS. And if you're looking for some championship bling for your fantasy champion, look no further than Pro-Am Belts. All right, well, let's get things started off with a little news. Did that click or?
Only a little delay.
Thank you. I was like, what's going on there? All right, let's go. Let's talk about last night. What about last night? Wow, it was almost felt like football was back last night. We've had a lot of low scoring, not a lot of fun, high scoring games last night. Definitely brought it. Kirk Cousins, man, if you didn't like that, especially in your starting lineup, 509 yards, 4 TDs, had the 1 interception, whatever, who cares, went off last night. Drake London had a good night. Kyle Pitts had a good night. And on the other side, not so shabby either, although it was only 180 yards for Baker Mayfield, still put up 3 TDs. He was running all over the field again. Looked good, still looks good. Rashad White had a decent night, but although there's that him and Bucky Irving thing, Bucky Irving did have that late fumble. However, they went back to him later, so I don't think it's cause for concern there. Chris Godwin had an okay night, but obviously Mike Evans ruled the day with his big TD night. All right, Justin, what did you think of last night?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I thought it was fun. First 4 drives looked like you were playing like 7-on-7 in training camp. and it was just back and forth. Like it was just go go go. Like felt like 4 plays and you're already in the end zone. You're like, whoa, that's another score. Oh shoot, here we go, another score. And it was a lot of fun. I would like to see the Falcons, get a little bit more run game involved, but I'm never going to complain when I have Drake London. He gets 13 catches. Please feed the man. Keep on feeding him. Like Zeke, just keep feeding him until he's full.
You know what I forgot to mention? It was silly of me not to say his name, but Darnell Mooney. Ooh wee. I mean, he was on his way for number 3, but just was all too excited to go get it. Could have had that one late on the to see it, and his, you could see his body turn, and he was so ready. He was like, he got that. He was going to the house with it. So it was a great night for Darnell Mooney. Great night for Atlanta. Great night for football fans, quite frankly. We had a great football game indeed. We're waiting on Brian to come in. We can go ahead and start our breakdown here in a few minutes. But other than that, other from last night's game, really no other thing other than tell you that I hope that you started someone in there because you had a good start to your weekend nonetheless. So hopefully we'll see Brian here in a minute. It's Friday night and we feeling all right. Let's get, you know what time it is.
Breakdown.
Bring it on down.
Breakdown.
Bring it on down. Bring it on down.
So yeah, I it's because of my low internet out here. I don't know when those videos are playing, when they're not. So my bad if I'm looking silly when they come back. Let's start off with the wake up early game on Sunday morning. The Jets at the Vikings. All right, so against fantasy QBs, the Jets are number 2 against running backs. They're 8th. They're 7th against receivers, 8th versus tight ends. Vikings 13th against QBs, 4th against running backs, 30th against receivers, 28th against tight ends. What do you say, guys? You like and don't like in this one?
I like myself some Aaron Rodgers in this game. I think it's a perfect matchup for him. He knows the Vikings very well. He played in a division with them for how many years? He knows the Vikings well. He's going to try and put a show on. I like this is a good week for Garrett Wilson too. Really good game for Garrett Wilson and a real showcase for him amongst the whole Devontae Adams talk. I think he's going to really show people why he's just the number 1 there and that they got to put respect on his name. Another guy I really like, it's kind of like under the radar, is Tyler Conklin, the tight end. I think that he could have himself a reasonable day. Breece Hall seems like a lock, but after last week, you kind of go like, maybe he is human, And then maybe we do get to see, with all the circulation of the questions of why Braylon Allen wasn't on the goal line, maybe we get to see more Braylon Allen. As far as, running backs go, you can't not start Breece Hall. I would say he's one of those guys I would maybe look at as like a flex number wise. I don't know if he's going to go off because of the Braylon Allen effect and because I think that they're going to try and get him incorporated a little bit more. On the Viking side, I'm all for suiting up just about every Viking you got. I'm all for Aaron Jones. I'm all for Justin Jefferson, a little bit of Jordan Addison in there. I'm all for freaking Sam Darnold this week. He proved me wrong. This is, if there's ever a revenge game, it's Sam Darnold versus the Jets. Like, this man has been waiting for how many years to freaking stick it right in their face and say, see, I was motherfucking good. It was just your fault. You were terrible at developing quarterbacks. So I'm all for the Sam Darnold Express and him showing up on offense this week. And I love his weapons.
So, real quick, so before I say anything about the game, since you brought up Devonta Adams' name, and brought up the Jets and all that, so I just wanted to give my little take on that. If, of course, you're sticking on our network, check us out on Wednesday. I do a little show with Ben Troop, and we had a great conversation, actually, about the Jets, in particular, and Devonta Adams and where we're going. Talking about the Jets, I feel like they're a team in what I would call an identity crisis, where you have this Aaron Rodgers that wants to throw the football, but you're really a power running team with a good defense, which is what you really should be doing. But instead, of course, you do have Aaron Rodgers, and he's that little sexy toy in the garage that you want to use, but you're trying to figure out how to make it all work. So I think, it sounds all great, and for Devonta Adams, cool, going back to Aaron Rodgers. But again, what goes on with this running game and what you're really set up to do. So that's why I talk trash to Fred about the Jets, but I do believe that, again, that they're in a identity crisis, and I think that they just say, you know what, bump it. Let's just 4 receivers with Devonta Adams, Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, and whoever the hell else, and throw the football all kind of crazy and today. But on this particular game, I'm actually I'd be a little nervous to start Aaron Jones against the Jets defense. I think the Jets might give him a little bit of a fit, if you will. I think Sam Darnold might be seeing a little bit of ghost again against this D. This is a really good defense. I think we've kind of shied away from them because they haven't been, the teams kind of struggle a little bit this year. But I like the Jets and Aaron Jones. Nervous on Darnold. And I'm nervous on all, quite frankly, because again, this Vikings defense is very good. So I like kickers and D in this one. I'll be quite frank with you, but of course, Justin Jefferson, you're definitely starting him no matter what. So it doesn't really matter what the hell I think. And if you want to play Sam Darnold against the Jets, that's on you. But I think if you have better options, there might be better matchups, and especially we have a lot of kind of a lopsided games, I think, this week. So I think you might find something a little better. All right, hold on. We got one comment before we move on from let's see that. I'm not even gonna try. Morga riff Greg. Okay. Would you trade B John for Taylor? What do you think?
Man. No, just because B. John is healthy right now, and Taylor's probably looking at about like a 2 to 3 week injury. It's tempting because when you look at the stats, Taylor's doing way better than B. John. He's just in a more established role. I still think that they really don't know what to do with B. John, which is mind-boggling. I feel like anybody could figure out, hey, let's just find a way to get this guy in a wide zone or any type of zone, because he literally just has that ability to just click on and go off of a one cut. Plus, he's great as a receiver as well. So it's kind of mind-boggling that the Falcons still do this. Like I said, their offense can sometimes be frustrating. I probably would not, because I'm hopeful that as the season goes on, like we've seen the past 2 weeks, this offense will continuously pick up, which means everybody will start to eat a little bit more.
Yeah, you stole my thunder in my little analysis of that too. I think if this offense starts to click, you have as long as you have the running back in this system, you're going to win out. Now, again, Algier takes a little bit of a little bit out of that punch for him, with Jonathan Taylor pretty much, just having Trey Sermon there behind him. So, again, I can see where Justin's kind of like, because you can see maybe Taylor being better at the stretch of the season, possibly. So there's a world where I can see that existing, but also there's a world where we're saying where Bijan could really go off in a really high-powered offense. So thank you for your question. Appreciate you, and I'm sorry if I messed your name up there. All right, let's go on to the Panthers at the Bears. Panthers, they're 23rd against fantasy QBs, 31st against running backs, 19th against receivers, and 27th against tight ends. Bears, numero uno against QBs, 23rd against running backs, 6th against receivers, and 15th against tight ends. Could this be revenge game for and then Andy Dalton? But didn't he go in there saying he was QB1? Wasn't that the team that he went in there and got embarrassed and then got sat down? I can't remember. What did you think?
I think maybe that was, because I think he was the QB that was there before Justin Fields. Like, he was the guy who was supposed to mentor Justin Fields. I think you're right on that one.
Right.
Yeah.
So a possible revenge game for the Red Rifle.
Yeah, so if you look at most of the season, it's probably gonna be revenge games for the Red Rifle because he's gotten around in his later years. He's starting to get the Ryan Fitzpatrick resume, where like every single week is like him playing a revenge game. But I'm not gonna put Andy Dalton in there. Bears defense, Bears secondary is really good. I think the revenge game is DJ Moore coming against the freaking Carolina Panthers. I like this one. I think this one's going to be a spicy play. DJ Moore, I think this is Caleb's really his first coming out game where he has a couple touchdowns with no interceptions, maybe like 250 yards. And then, as far as picking Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift, I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift. And I'm going to say maybe you can flex either Rome Odunze or Keenan Allen. But I'm not putting them as my main wide receivers. And I'm just telling you this, inconsistency, man. The talent is obviously there from Rome Odunze, but I don't think the opportunities are there for him just yet. And, Swift and Moore are always going to get opportunities in this offense. And Swift last week, when I thought he was dead, rose from the ashes. And now you get almost a freaking gimme game against the Panthers. I love it. I think I'm going to go with him in this one. On the Panthers side, maybe Chuba Hubbard as a flex. Just because you have a bye week that's pretty substantial. You got the Eagles down. You got the Lions down. You're going to be looking for a running back. You're going to be looking for a flex this week, no doubt. So I would probably be okay with playing Chuba Hubbard and maybe even Deontay Johnson if you're really, really, really strapped.
So if I'm not that, I'm not that guy, but I have to say, if you listen to the commish last week, I told you DeAndre Swift was due, and at least he was on my ultimate DFS lineup, and he paid off indeed. So I'm going to revert back to him again this week, not to, spill anything out on my ultimate DFS. But again, Carolina horrible against fantasy running backs. And, I like the matchup, so I do agree with you there. And I think this is a game where Caleb Williams can finally, I hate to say relax, but it's probably the wrong term, but maybe the game slows down a little bit more for him in this particular matchup, and maybe he starts to find a little rhythm, and maybe this offense takes off. There's a lot of maybes. But see, and again, Andy Dalton could be a little motivated. I'm pretty positive that was the team. He did the QB1 thing, so maybe he's got a little something he wants to show off. Or he's like, "Now I'm the QB1." You know what I mean? But Andy Dalton, and goes back to earth a little bit, and then he'll surprise you again. So, we'll see. But this Bears D is legit, so I don't necessarily think he's going to go crazy in this particular game. Justin, we got another question here from Jason Ortiz. Thank you so much for your question. He wants to start.
So, Jason, I'm going to say this. Stevenson is now the backup for this week. So that is your play right there. Stevenson is your backup. So take Stevenson out, play Sutton, play Madison. Madison is the starter this week. And Wan'Dale Robinson will not be competing with Malik Neighbors for touches, and he's been getting targeted at almost a double-digit clip every week. So take Stevenson out, and you should be good.
I like that. I agree with you there. Wan'Dale Robinson, I keep putting no faith in him, but he's been a strong number 2, especially in PPR. So find a way to get him in there. Agree with you there, Justin. Stevenson against America's team. All right, let's talk about Browns against Commanders. Browns against fantasy QBs are 7. And the worst color game ever. I feel like reminds me of like taking a poop. Browns are 7th against fantasy QBs, 7th against running backs, 20th against receivers, and they're 13th against tight ends. Commanders, 31st against QBs. They've come up a bit. 22nd against running backs, dead last against receivers still, and they are dead last against tight ends. So what do you say, guys you like and don't like?
I'm a big fan of Jaden Daniels. Not a huge fan of Scary Terry this week just because of the defense itself. And, as far as the offense goes, I'd put Brian Robinson because he's proven himself to be a really good utility back. Would not get cute with playing Jeremy McNichols every week. Don't quite know the status on Austin Eckler, but hopefully the doc gets in soon, so maybe we can figure that one out. And then on the Commanders side, on the Browns side, man, it's almost like flush it all down the toilet. But I'll tell you this, I have a feeling this could be. I've got a feeling this could be an Amari Cooper week. And by Amari Cooper week, I mean he catches like 2 passes and a touchdown because Deshaun Watson can't consistently feed his ass. But I think that we see Amari Cooper, a sighting of him having a okay game this week. And I think David Njoku is back. Once again, another question for the doc. I think David Njoku is back. I don't know if that's going to make too big of a difference because he wasn't the most on with Deshaun Watson, but it could, be an interesting play if you're looking for a tight end. The only real guy I'm solid on is I have a feeling that Jerome Ford might go off in this game. And, obviously for Jerome Ford going off is probably over 15 points. But I have a real feeling that he's going to have fun in this one. I think he's going to go for 100 yards in total and maybe a touchdown. So I'm holding on to that one.
I like that, and I like the Cooper call as well. I was going to do the Hang Up Mr. Cooper theme song because I like, obviously, against this Commander secondary, who's just been atrocious. So you like him to show up. Maybe even a little sneaky Zach Ertz, who's been pretty consistent right now in the Commanders' offense as far as he's one of those safer plays, but you don't expect a big day, but possibly something coming up this week, maybe a touchdown or two. We'll see. Doc. Brian Scott, he is our doc. He is in waiting. I do have a question though here that I wanted to put up first because it kind of goes into bringing in Bry here. So Jason wants to know Akers or Sermon. He started Akers the last 2 weeks, and geesh. Go ahead, Justin. What were you going to say? And then I'm just going to comment if Taylor's out. I think Sermon's the no-brainer. And then Doc can tell us all about that. But go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, it's Sermon for me. I mean, I don't want any part of Akers. Sheesh is right. Sheesh is right. Oof.
Yeah, Akers has had his opportunities and done really not a lot with it at all. And I think Joe Mixon might be back, I think, this week as well. Again, you can ask Bry, of course. All right, well, it was a good segue, Jason. We appreciate that question. We'll just stick around here, and for 1 second, we're going to bring you inside the medical tent so we can better answer your question.
A.J. Dillon just went into the medical tent a moment ago.
What's up, Bry?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, what's going on our screen?
We can hear you perfectly.
I got to fix this.
Perfect.
We can hear you.
Too loud? I can lower.
What's going on, Brian? We got a lot. I'm up in the foothills of the Carolina Mountains. So, what do we got going on this week? I know we got a lot of injuries and guys that are, kind of questionable. They're coming back. They're not coming back. So, what do we got going on?
Yeah. All right. So Malik Neighbors out with this concussion, made that official today. Jonathan Taylor out with a high ankle sprain. That's concerning. He might miss several weeks. Joe Mixon, he's officially as well with that high ankle sprain. Cordarrelle Patterson out as well. Anthony Richardson questionable with some type of obliques, hip pointer type injury. He's going to be a game time decision. He'll be listed questionable. Jalen Warren out with a knee injury. ETN should be good to go. He's taken off the injured list today with that shoulder banged up. Brian Robertson Jr., this is going to be an interesting one. He's dealing with a knee issue. Missed practice Wednesday and Thursday. He's probably going to be questionable heading into the game this weekend, and he could be a true game time decision. Devin Singletary is doubtful with the groin injury. He's probably not going to play. Raheem Mostert is finally available. He is off the injured list. Tank Dell is off the list, good to go. Christian Watson avoids IR, but he's been listed as doubtful. We'll probably see that tag for a couple weeks. Khalil Shaker out with an ankle injury. George Kittle questionable, practice Friday. We should see him ready to go along with Fred Warner. Evan Ingram questionable hamstring. He did practice, but it was Friday. Didn't do much. I don't think he's going to be ready. Taysom Hill, fractured ribs, likely missed several weeks. David Njoku returned to practice. He was limited. He is not going to be ready to play, though, yet. And then Trey McBride, concussion protocol. He's good to go.
To me, Bri, thank you for a very concise Inside the Medical Tent tonight. Make sure you go visit the Inside the Medical Tent blog and, of course, listen to the Injured List podcast. Bri, and of course, you can wake up with us on Sunday, and Bri will give you an extensive look as well. Anywhere else I missed to follow you at?
No, I think you nailed them. I'm kind of out remote on the road today, so not as planned as I had been in the past, but thanks for shouting me out on all my levels.
No, all good. No, we always appreciate your time, sir, and we will see you Sunday morning. All right, we're going to take a quick break, sponsored by NeuroGuard.
Dr. Michael Hutchison has harnessed the latest in neuromuscular dentistry and impact technology to develop a mouthguard that does more than protect. It enhances. NeuroGuard Plus isn't just a mouthguard. By focusing on the jaw's physiological position, it provides an added layer of neuroprotection, significantly reducing the risk of sports-related neurological injuries. All athletes should be using a custom mouthguard designed to their bite position. NeuroGuard Plus was created as a means to maintain your physiological jaw position regardless of your bite. The appliance is designed to optimize your upper-lower jaw relationship to improve your strength, your balance, your oxygen intake, and drastically lower your chance of a concussion. Independent studies have shown that the NeuroGuard Plus will provide you with improvement to both upper and lower body strength. The same improvements were not present with a common mouthguard. Over 6,500 athletes have used the NeuroGuard Plus. Dr. Hutchison is happy to say that the amount of diagnosed concussions is 0.2%. The NeuroGuard Plus offers athletes, coaches, and parents an advantage to keep their players safe on the field. If you or your child actively participates in athletics, they need to be protected from the dangers of repetitive head trauma. Get your NeuroGuard Plus mouthguard today. Click on the link and use code ILP Sports for 10% discount on your purchase.
All righty. Well, thank you, Bri. Appreciate that. A lot of good insight there. Let's get into a game that I wish didn't have an injury to it. America's team going against the Patriots up in New England. Dolphins against fantasy QBs, number 3 in the league. Against running backs are 28th. Against receivers are number 5. Against tight ends are number 10. Patriots 17th against QBs, 18th against running backs, 27th against receivers, 22nd against tight ends. You like it? Don't like.
Boo! Next game, boo! No, I won't be that cruel. You know what? Devin Achan, is he gonna get the touches? Because like I think he's gonna get them. He's got to, right? This offense is kind of built around it, but with Mostert possibly coming back, with Jalen Wright getting touches last week, you kind of wonder. If you've got him, you still got to play him. But I would definitely be a little bit touchy with that one. I want none of the quarterbacks. Yeah, there's much better options out there. Joe Flacco is out there on some leagues, and he's not even assured to be starting, but he's already a better option than both of these quarterbacks. And then any of the receiving options. Kamish, I'm so sorry, man. Like, I think I called it last week that I wouldn't start Tyreek Hill, even though you have to start Tyreek Hill. But God damn, is it abysmal? Like you said, man, you could throw a 5-yard little dink and dunk to Tyreek Hill and take it to the house. Tyler Huntley couldn't freaking find Tyreek Hill last week. He couldn't get to Jalen Waddle last week. All these guys, all these weapons. What's the point of having all these weapons if you don't have a quarterback to get them to? You know, that's kind of where I'm at with this. I feel very unsure playing Tyreek Hill this week because you have to, but it just feels ucky with what's going on there. And then the Patriots, don't even get me started on the Patriots. Don't even get me started on the Patriots. I'm tired of the Patriots. No, but if you want a DFS play, maybe Antonio Gibson. He might be a good one.
Yeah, I think Gibson's a good play. You know, Miami's not very good against the run. I think that's been pretty obvious this season. Whole show on why I feel the Dolphin organization did a horrible job with this football team, with, you know, knowing Tua's having these issues, not doing a better job getting a quality QB. And I think it speaks volumes when a guy off the street looked almost better than the backup you already had in there. So that kind of speaks to the fact that you aren't doing things correctly. And also, why are you bringing in Tyrone Huntley, who does not fit our offense? You know, if he goes to Baltimore, I understand. If he goes to maybe even Philadelphia, I understand. That makes sense. He fits that system. We need a accurate guy, i.e. Russell Wilson, but we need someone like that who can deliver the football. And again, why you didn't do a better job backing up Tua is, again, a whole conversation. But this week, I know Mostert will eat into his carries, but I think they're going to establish a run game. Huntley, obviously, will be a little more familiar with the offense now. However, I still see them attacking more on the run game. I think you said it best. Right now, it's scary to start Tyreek and Jalen. They're at least flex worthy, which is scary to say. And I think Tyreek's at least wide receiver 2 position. All right, let's go. We got a question here. Keith Tapp. He wants to know. Speaking of Achane, 10 man PPR. He's got Achane or Swift. Also pick one to start: Hill, Deontay, Shaheed, Ayuk, and Wandell. What do you think?
I'll go Swift, and I'll go with Wandale for the PPR points, and Shaheed for the big splash play. So whatever you need at that point. If you're down in projected points, I'd go with Shaheed. If you're projected to win, I'd go with Wandale.
He's got the safer play with Wandell. Shaheed could get you a nice big day, I think, is what Justin's trying to say. I can't believe we just passed over Tyreek Hill like he was nothing. Wow. Can't even believe what has happened to this world.
All right. It's a weird world, man. It's a weird world this season. This is terrible.
All right. Let's go Colts at Jags. Colts against fantasy QBs are 30th, against running backs are 14th, against receivers 26th, and against tight ends are 30th. Jags, they are dead last against fantasy QBs. They're 26th against running backs, they're 28th against receivers, and 11th against tight ends. So guys you like and don't like in that one.
No, pardon me. So this is going to be all depending on who is the Colts quarterback. The Colts quarterback is Joe Flacco. I love all of the Colts options. And I'm not even joking you. I love all of their options. You look at last week, Josh Downs got 8 catches for 64 yards and a touchdown. Michael Pittman got 6 catches for 113 yards. Those are good freaking days for 2 guys who were like extinct when the other quarterback was playing. So for that, I'm going to just put it this way. If Flacco's playing, I like Pittman and I like Downs. And if Richardson's playing, I like Alec Pierce because he's their deep threat. And, you know, if Flacco's playing, I like him to finish higher in fantasy than if Anthony Richardson is playing. As far as like the running back goes, Trey Sermon's a fine start in this one. Jaguars have been pretty bad against the rush. And then on the other side, I think that this, we saw it last week. We saw a little bit more life. I think this has to start to become a get-right game for the Jaguars. And I think that means that Trevor Lawrence gets back on pace. I think we see Christian Kirk get in there. Brian Thomas is obviously the over-the-top guy, and I really like what I've seen from him. He looks like he's a bigger version of Jameson Williams, so maybe a little bit more durable when it comes to injuries. So I'm going to go with those three guys, and I can't touch the running back room because it goes week to week between ETN and Tank Bigsby, who outplays each other. So, if you got either one and you're desperate, put them in there. But if I've got either one right now and I'm not desperate and I've got somebody who can replace them, I'm replacing them.
Yeah, I agree. They're kind of going by. And again, I think Bigsby looks like the better back to me overall.
He does.
ETN looks like that change pace maybe back is what maybe they should try to switch that up to. But and I like Trey Sermon, like you said. I think he's going to be a big play this week, especially against the Jags D. It's just not good at all against the fantasy running backs. And if it's Joe Flacco, I want to say Josh Downs a lot this week. I think you'll see a lot of him. I think I played him in my flex, also my ultimate defense last week, and he came up big. So yeah, I like him a lot. And don't be afraid to start Pittman. I know there's been a lot of questions because he's been struggling this year. I think that it's this nice safe play again this week to start Michael Pittman. All right, let's go. Bills at Texans. All right, this is a football game I'm excited for. Bills are 10th against QBs, dead last against running backs. They're number 2 against receivers, 20th against tight ends. The Texans are 26th against QBs, 6th against running backs, 23rd against receivers, and 3rd against tight ends. What do you say, guys? You like and don't like?
So we've got Khalil Shakir out in this game. So I'm looking at leaning on Keon Coleman being a nice flex and Dalton Kincaid playing a big role as a tight end this week. Josh Allen, do not be surprised if we see a lot of Josh Allen running, maybe 1 or 2 rushing touchdowns. He's just got to get right for this, especially after last week's debacle. James Cook's a nice play as well. You want to get as many of these guys from the high volume offenses as you can, especially on bye weeks. The Texan side, I love me some Stephon Diggs. Oh, man. Stephon Diggs against his old team. I think it's going to be a big game for him. Nico Collins, I can't count Nico Collins out. Every time I do, he comes out and he says, fuck you, I'm going to have 7 catches and 100 yards. So Nico Collins, 100%. You got to keep him in your lineups. And, I'm teetering, but for me, I'm going to say Tank Dell, sit him this week. He's just not shown that he's getting the targets or the quality targets that are going to make him a big fantasy producer. And then if Joe Mixon is fully back, then we're gonna full tilt bookie on Joe Mixon for sure.
Yeah, I'm not. Even if he's not, I'm not. Even as bad the Bills have been against him, I've just watched Cam Akers, and he's just not it no more. And then they have, I can't even pronounce the other guy's name on Badooms or something.
Dare Ogunbowale.
Thank you. That guy. Comes in on the goal line sometimes. It's just a big mess right now with the Texans backfield. So I'm not confident. That's why I kind of think, we'll talk about that later. I think the Bills will win the game because I just don't see this. Like you mentioned, Tank Dell. Nico Collins is it, though. He's definitely become that alpha guy in this offense. But like in the chess pieces, when you're looking at the football game itself, I think the Bills overall are going to outmatch them in certain areas. That's not going to be good for the Texans as far as the victory goes. Josh Allen, obviously, you're starting James Cook, who's had a great season thus far as well. So I think that's pretty much it on that one. I mean, again, only thing I'm not really, like you said, I think Tank Dell maybe a flex if you want to hope to God he gets something finally. You like Nico Collins. Obviously, he's a great start for you no matter what. And Stephon Diggs is a good flex play at the very least. All right, let's go to Ravens at Bengals. This is an interesting one too. Ravens against fantasy QBs are 21st. They're 18th against running backs, 18th against receivers, and 21st against tight ends. I am on a totally other game. Ravens are 21st against QBs, 30th receivers, 25th against receivers. They're dead last against tight ends. Our Bengals, are 20th against QBs. They are 21st against running backs, 13th against receivers, and 8th against tight ends. And I'm sorry, I misspoke. Ravens are 31st, not dead last. All right, what do you say? Guys, you like and don't like?
Yeah, so I like both the quarterbacks in this one. I think Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson are both very, very, very good options for you this week. Big fan of the kid Chase Brown. I think that he kind of showed something last week, had himself a career day. I think we're going to see a lot more from this guy. He's a little speedy back, and I think it's going to help against this kind of slower secondary and linebacking core of the Ravens. Then we got Jamar Chase. You're always starting him for sure. T. Higgins is a little iffy for me. T. Higgins has always been one of those guys that he comes in and out. Shut the damn door. He comes in and out of relevance. So, I mean, obviously that's not a good rule to just drop or to just sit him. But, I would just temper back expectations on him. He's always done that for our fantasy hopes and dreams. Mike Gesicki hasn't shown me anything since Kansas City. So it kind of worries me that maybe that was just a fluke game. Maybe it was just a good matchup, KC's linebackers against the tight end position. Ravens, I'm not playing Likely. I'm off on Likely. I'm off on Andrews. I'm full Zay Flowers, Derrick Henry mode. And, yeah, I think I'm going to keep it at those three and just say, those three and maybe the Ravens defense. And that's about it. Because I can't trust the Bengals.
The Bengals offense, as you brought up, Gesicki, hasn't looked right since T. Higgins has been back, quite frankly. But, I think this might be, the Ravens have been really bad against tight ends. You might get a little sneaky little play if you need to plug someone in. If you're the Njoku owner and you need somebody off the waiver wire, it might be somebody you might want to stream this week in this matchup. But, yeah, everything else I agree with. You're going Lamar, you're going everything else. I don't trust the Ravens receiver. So Zay Flowers for me is just not attractive. And I'm just obviously watching Mark Andrews struggle the way he has. I mean, this guy's, it's not even about him not getting open or getting targets. He's getting wide open looks and dropping the ball. So, I mean, there's something going on with Mark Andrews' season, just not quite right. So I'm no confidence starting him at all. But of course, you got to love Derrick Henry, quite frankly. So it's Henry and Lamar show for the Ravens for me. All right, we got this one from Jason again. Thank you again. Will you trade Godwin and TJ Hawkinson for Marvin Harrison's tight end is America's tight end, George Kittle? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, why not? If you've got America's tight end as your quarter or as your tight end, go for it. Because I think Marvin Harrison is he's going to keep progressing throughout the season. I think this quote unquote slow start, but he's still I think on pace for 17 touchdowns in the season. So this quote unquote slow start, I think will start to smoothen out down the road as he gets on more of a connection and fluidity with Kyler Murray. So yeah, I love that play. I love that trade.
Yeah, I like that a lot too, actually. Got another one here from Rexton to Freshish. 10-man PPR. Just flipped MHJ, Terry Fryermuth, and Group 4, Jamar, Bowers, Moody, and at K. What's your thoughts?
Kicker. I think that you might have given too much up. I think you might have given too much up with this one. I think Bowers and Fryermuth, unfortunately, are about the same level as far as fantasy goes right now. I know the Adams thing kind of opens up for Bowers, but you still got to remember who's throwing him the football, and that's Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. So it's going to be tough. I think that maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. and Terry McLaurin were a little premature. I think they might end up giving you more points than you think you're going to get from Jamar Chase. But yeah, I'm just hoping that you were smart about this and you said to yourself, I could take this upgrade. I hope your roster looks phenomenal because you're going to need it.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I know. I was about to say that depending on what your rest of your roster looks like, it's 10-man PPR. I imagine the rest of the roster is stacked up for him to grab that bigger piece. And yeah, and in fact, he just came in here. Keep in mind, he already has CD, Drake, PTJ, and Deontay. So already feeling kind of like the roster. Yeah, it's good to do those, like you said, upgrade with that superstar to the roster. So yeah, I like that. We like that. All right, let's go. Andrew Burwell. All right, fellas, do I start Tyreek, Sermon, or Hunt in the flex? His receivers are Amon-Ra, Reed, Higgins. Ooh, Tyreek. And my RBs are Kyron, Cook, Kareem Hunt, and Bucky.
Wow, he's flexing pretty hard on us right now, isn't he?
Yeah, this is almost like a humble brag.
Yeah, that's a nice roster, dog. You know what? God, man, it really does break my heart to say you got to sit Tyreek, but man, until Snoop Huntley can connect on a 5-yard pass to this man, I'm not sold on it. I almost want to say Hunt. I have an odd feeling that this Chiefs offense is going to come out really like run heavy against the Saints, and I think that it's not Steele, it's Hunt. I think Hunt coming back last week, he did a good job. I think he's earning more of the trust. It's the same system as he learned, I think, like 5-6 years ago. I think Hunt's the guy. I don't know. What do you got to say about that?
I'm more on the Sermon train because of the matchup. Saints got a pretty decent D, but I feel you. I do agree with you. I do think Kareem Hunt, I mean, he looked like they had the fresh legs for sure. So, and Carson having the fumbling issues. So that's an issue. Really appreciate your question. Your comments in there. We do have a question here. I don't know if I went out of there. Sorry. We do have okay, I don't know if I'm going in and out, but Justin's popping in and out. We do have a question here from Saber Money. We're going to get to that in 1 second. But before we do, since you guys are asking all of these questions on starts and sits, we got some sophisticated sits, or starts, I'm sorry, for your viewing pleasure. Our boy, Mr. Mallard, presents his Sophistication Station. We'll be right back.
Oh la la!
Good evening here on Sophistication Station. I'm Andrew Lazuke, aka Mr. Mallard. I'm bringing you your classy must-starts for this week. Now let's kick it off in a matchup that we're going to keep attacking. It's Josh Jacobs against the Rams. The Rams are abysmal against the rush, and Josh Jacobs is going to pick it up now that Jordan Love is back in the lineup. So, Josh Jacobs this week and the coming weeks, because he's got a really soft schedule coming up. So start Josh Jacobs. Terry McLaurin back in the end zone finally last week. Him and Daniel starting to build that connection. I can only see it growing from there. So get McLaurin back in your lineups this week. And then as well as DK Metcalf against that Giants defense. Geno Smith looking alright. DK looking like a beast again right now. So ride that while you can. So that's Josh Jacobs, Terry McLaurin, DK. Go win your matchups. And as always, stay classy.
Oh la la!
To punch you in the face, you would have to fight off the strong urge to thank him.
Thank you, Mr. Mallard, for getting us sophisticated. All right, we got another question. Thank you again for all of them. Saber Money and Dynasty PPR rebuild. Would y'all trade away Tony Pollard, Ayuk, Polk for Rice, or separate the trade in the same league? Ayuk, Gibbs, Pollard for Brooks, Jaden Reed, and 2026 first round.
Ooh, I don't know if I would do that Gibbs one though. That Gibbs one is tough because he is such a good football player, and they're keeping him on such a leash right now to where you're like, okay, he could legitimately be a dynasty running back. So he could be somebody you could put out 2 years from now and be like, okay, this is a really good piece to have. I would say this for the first trade. Try and see if you can get like a little extra on the side for Rice, because, obviously you're giving a lot of pieces over to this guy, for a guy who probably just tore his ACL. I mean, no word is out yet. The Chiefs are waiting for the inflammation to go down so they can get proper imaging of it, but he probably tore it. So you got to definitely put that into the negotiations. Like, hey, man, like I'm going to need like a second or, a second and a third added on to this because I'm rebuilding, because of the fact that we may never see this freaking guy again. I mean, next time we might see this guy is like week 6 next year because he's also still got to go through his legal issues.
If you're in a rebuild, the first thing I was attracted to was the pick. So, I agree with Justin on you're giving up Gibbs. That's just way too much. I like the first trade, like Justin said, but get some draft picks involved. So again, if you're doing that dynasty rebuild, start adding some new stuff to that roster. So I agree with Justin's analysis there. Saber Money says this team's a redraft. Man, you got all of them in here. You got Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Evans, DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, McLaurin, Irving, Dobbins, Ford, Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp, and Irving plays on his bench. Singletary is doubtful. Assuming you got a question there. I don't know what it is. So sure we try to give us there. Dobbins is on a bye and JT is out. Okay, here we go. Who should I trade to add an RB, or should I just play without one RB this week? I'm projected to win without even a second RB.
Well, that's a hell of a flex right there, my friend. If you're projected to win without even a second RB, that's a hell of a flex there, my friend. And I would say this: do you have anybody like who's got like Tyrone Tracy or something like that? Somebody you can get who's really going to be like cheap, but he's going to be a nice band. Like you could say like, oh, I'm the Singletary guy. Do you have Tyrone Tracy? Can I get him off of you or something like that for like maybe like a third and like a third next year or something like that, like something real cheap, or if you really want to give up like somebody like an Ayuk and like a Pollard, try and get somebody who's at least middle of the road, somebody like I don't know, maybe like a James Cook, or I was gonna say Rashad White, but he's already played, somebody who's not there yet but has the potential to get to that elite level.
Yeah, I like that totally, and like you said, this is a total flex looking at this roster. Even someone like Antonio Gibson, we just brought him up, somebody for a third round pick. That's somebody if you want somebody to get in this week, something like that. Just somebody, just a nice little cheap option to throw in there. It's funny that you even brought that up. Because in my dynasty, I'm not in a rebuild. I thought I was, to be honest with you. I got Josh Allen. I got some great receivers, Jamar Chase. I got Marcus Harrison Jr., Devonta Smith, but I have 0 running backs. I have Nick Chubb, who's eventually coming back. Luckily, I picked up Jordan Mason before the season started, so I've been riding that. But my second RB has just been, I picked up Cam Akers 1 week and so on. But I was literally talking with someone, Greg, from our Sunday morning show. He picked up Gibson. And so I was just sitting there talking to him that I would give him a third round pick for Gibson just to plug somebody in this week. So that's something that I'm basically doing as well. So I like that a lot. So you got 2 RBs, 2 receivers, 2 flex, and 1 for starting roster.
Perfect. And this is a perfect week to go do it because we talked about it.
Yep.
Tyrone Tracy starting, Trey Sermon starting, Antonio Gibson. All these guys will be 1 or 2 game wonders, and throw a third round pick out there, and you'll be fine.
Absolutely. I like it. Let's get to the 4 o'clocks. Raiders at Broncos. Raiders are 18th against QBs, 25th against running backs, 18th against receivers, and 21st against tight ends. Broncos are 8th against QBs. They're 10th against running backs. They're 3rd against receivers and 19th against tight ends. So guys you like and don't like.
This is the old proverbial go up and get a beer game of the week. Like, you don't got to be by the screen to see this one. I like the Broncos defense. And that's just about it. No, I mean, if I got to talk good about these teams, I'll say Trey Tucker has some good upside to him as far as being a deep threat. And then, Alexander Madison, I was talking about, there's another guy right there, Alexander Madison. You could probably trade a good second-round pick for him, and he's going to be the guy, I think, the rest of the season. Zamir White sucks. And then, looking at somebody like Jacoby Myers, I think that's about as far as I'm willing to compliment the Raiders. And then, the Broncos, I'll start Cortland Sutton. He seems to have built kind of a repertoire with Bo Nix, but man, it's going to be tough. And, Bo Nix, I want to say Bo Nix is going to go off, but I don't know, man, because it's like this Raider defense is a little stung up right now. I mean, they might be without Max Crosby as well as Devontae Adams this week, which is going to be a major blow to them. So I won't say Bo Nix, but I will say if you have to start him, it might pan out for you in the end, is all I'm going to throw out there.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. This Broncos defense is legit. Everyone's kind of sitting here kind of waving them off, but that defense is a good defense. And the Raiders offense right now is kind of in flux, but I do like Madison. I've seen him in spurts this season, and he has looked decent when they do get him the ball, which is kind of surprising because he didn't look like he had anything in Minnesota, but he looks good here in Las Vegas. So we'll see if they make him the man in this offense. It's all about volume and fantasy. So, he's somebody decent. But, there's nobody I like, and really pretty much on either side of the football, like the defenses and kickers in this one. Like you said, along with the Dolphins and Patriots, I'm napping through both of those. All right, Cardinals at 49ers. Cardinals against fantasy QBs are 29th, against running backs are 29th, against receivers are 21st, 9th against tight ends. 49ers, 9th against QBs, 20th against running backs, 14th against receivers, and 4th against tight ends. So what say you guys, you like and don't like?
Start everyone. Just put them all in there. It's going to be an offensive showcase. So the 49er report right now has Fred Warner on the injured list, Talanoa Hufanga on the injured list. There's so many injuries on the defense right now, let alone the defensive line who's severely banged up. Start everyone. You got James Conner, start him. You got Jordan Mason, start him. You got Brock Purdy, super start him. You got Kyler Murray, start him. Marvin Harrison, I think it's going to be a Deebo Samuel game. So, I think Deebo Samuel, big day for this guy. Brandon Ayuk, I'll even say it here. It should be a startable game. It doesn't mean it's going to turn out to be a great fantasy game, but it should be a game where you can put up at least 10 to 15 points. That's a plus. And then George Kittle, how do you not start America's tight end? Oh, and the other guy, too.
Last week.
He's real good, too.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it best. I would start everyone in this one. Going to be a good offensive show, I think, hopefully reminiscent of last night. So we'll see, but I do like that. I like Trey McBride on the other side as well. So, again, start them up in this one. Should be a good fantasy bonanza. Nice pickup after you've tried to endure the start of the 4 o'clock games of Broncos and Raiders. All right, here's another great one. Another good matchup. Giants at Seahawks. Giants against fantasy QBs are 16th. Against running backs are 15th. Against receivers 17th. And 18th against tight ends. The Seahawks are 11th against QBs, 19th against running backs, 8th against receivers, and 23rd against tight ends. What do you say, guys you like and don't like?
Wan'Dale Robinson. I like Daniel Jones as a running quarterback. And you know what? I'll even throw it out there. I think Tyrone Tracy has 10 points in this game. For the Seahawks, I'm going to say start everyone. Put them all out there because you are not going to miss. DK Metcalf is going to have a fun day out there. Kenneth Walker, you think 3 touchdowns was fun? He might break that. He might go for 4. I imagine this game is going to look very ugly very quick. So, yeah, I'm going to start any Seahawk I have on my team. And for the Giants, like I said, Tyrone Tracy, maybe Daniel Jones and Wan'Dale Robinson for sure locked in.
Wan'Dale Robinson, definitely a strong wide receiver two, like high wide receiver two this week. I like him as well. And I don't know how I feel about Tyrone Tracy just yet. I remember when we did our Giants show, we couldn't even figure out who the backup was going to be. I think we had asked our guests, like, which one is the guy going to, I think Nikki actually mentioned Tyrone Tracy. So we'll see how it plays out. I haven't seen a lot of him enough that I feel confident. But it might be worth a flex play. You do have your buys this week. So, obviously that's going to play a factor as well. All right, let's go Packers.
What sells me on him, can I say this real quick? What sells me on him is he's kind of like Antonio Gibson. He's a converted wide receiver to running back. So as the game, I think this is going to be a massacre. As it progresses, I think he's going to be collecting a lot of catches.
That makes sense. I like that.
That's one of the talking points. Yeah.
I like that.
But it's still going to be
all right, let's go. I do agree. Packers at Rams, now to pick the excitement up a little bit. Packers against fantasy QBs are 15th, 17th against running backs, 22nd against receivers, 25th against tight ends. Rams 28th against QBs, 27th against running backs, 24th against receivers, and 26th against tight ends. What say you guys? You like and don't like?
I like just about everybody on the Packers. As far as the receivers goes, I really like Dontavian Wicks. I think he is the Christian Watson that the Packers have been looking for. He might not be as fast, but he is much better when it comes to the red zone, and he's a little bit more durable. As far as anybody else, Jaden Reed's a great answer. Romeo Dobbs is a safe answer. I think he'll get his catches, but he just doesn't make it to the end zone very often. He's got that Julio Jones syndrome where he gets you downfield, but he doesn't get you in the zone. And then, on the Rams side, I love Kyron Williams. Who doesn't? Matthew Stafford should be good. And then that kid Whittington, Jordan Whittington. I think he had 7 catches last week. Yeah, that's the one thing Matthew Stafford will always do. He will always find a slot receiver and utilize them well. Ask Cooper Kupp, ask Puka Nacua. That's how they make their money, is the quick plays by Matthew Stafford. So I'm actually doubling down on Jordan Whittington. I think he's going to do well this week.
Called out by DJ Chuck Bass, by the way, Mr. Jordan Whittington. I wasn't even thinking about this guy, and our goal when he's playing the hits, he brought him up. He's definitely starting to emerge in this offense. I like everything you said there. Let's go Cowboys at Steelers. Cowboys against fantasy QBs are 22nd. Against running backs are 30th, 16th against receivers, 7th against tight ends. Steelers, 6th against QBs, are 2nd against running backs, 9th against receivers, and 16th against tight ends. So what say you guys? You like and don't like?
I'm going to be a little against the grain here. I'm going to say I don't like Justin Fields this week. I think that the Cowboys have to start picking up the pressure, and this offense is really stagnant for most of games. I mean, last week was an explosion, but it hasn't been the standard. It's been the outlier for the Steelers. So I think that, for me, I look at Justin Fields. I still think he's going to be the starter. I still think he's got some good games ahead of him. But I think this is a game where you kind of take back and go, okay, this is another week 2 where he had 11 points. And, maybe they still win, maybe they don't, but he's just not the impact player that he was. So that being said, I think that downgrades Jordan Pickens to a flex. Najee Harris probably also to like an RB2 flex. Pat Fryermuth will probably be non-existent. On the other side, I'm really only picking CeeDee Lamb to have a decent game. I think it's going to be a really low-scoring affair. I'm saying maybe 17-13 type of affair, where it's just really defense rocking the quarterbacks. I think Dak's going to have a tough time against this defense. I think this defense was ashamed of its performance last week, and I think Dak has a tough time. But I think CD definitely picks it up has a good game, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get Rico Dowdle back into the end zone as well. So that's kind of where I lay. If I'm a Cowboys guy, I'm like not really starting anybody but CD Lamb.
I agree with the everything you said about Pittsburgh. The only thing I will say is I do think Dak will come back a little bit this week, even though it is a tougher matchup. I feel like it's about time to see a good Dak game. I mean, we just saw a good Kirk Cousins game. I think we're going to see that. So I like Jake Ferguson. I like CeeDee Lamb. Obviously, there's no Brandon Cook, so that's why I would really like CeeDee Lamb a lot and Jake Ferguson a lot. We'll see who that second or third guy is. But I think Dak has a good game, at least finally, against the Steelers. But we shall see how it plays out. We got a question here from Perioke. Rather than Kyron, Breece Jefferson, and Deontay / Waddle, I'm reading this wrong. Kyron, Breece Jefferson, and Deontay, Waddle, or Kyron, Jacobs, Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, and Deontay, Waddle rest of the season. What do you think?
I don't know. It's pretty even. I think I'd probably go with the Kyron Jacobs, just because Jacobs looks like he's the unchallenged king of the backfield, whereas Breece has kind of got a new challenger in Braylon Allen. So yeah, I think I would, just for those reasons, I think I would go with Jacobs. And like LeDuc said, Jacobs is bound. He's got a nice stretch of games where he's going to be just eating for the next couple weeks. So I think I'd like to get in on that.
Yeah, I like that. And, like I said, I think Jets are in that identity crisis. So I don't know how much they're going to give the ball to Breece as we go forward. If, who knows if they end up trading for Devontae Adams and they switch this offense up, pass heavy. So a lot of questions with that Jets offense, where I don't think there's a lot of questions with the Packers. I can know who they are. And they do feed the rock to Jacobs a lot. So, yeah, I agree with you there. Thank you so much for that question. We appreciate you. We're getting to our last breakdown. It is the Monday Night Delight, Saints at Chiefs. The Saints against fantasy QBs are 4th, against running backs are 12th, against receivers are 12th, and 17th against tight ends. Chiefs 19th against QBs, numero uno against running backs, 11th against receivers, and dead last against tight ends. So what do you say, guys? You like and don't like?
Well, you hear that and you would think to yourself, maybe I shouldn't play Alvin Kamara. But I'll tell you what, the way that he plays football, it will reset rankings. So I will always play Alvin Kamara if I have him, because you will always have the chance to do a 5-touchdown dance with Alvin Kamara and score like 60 points. That boy is good. He is so good. Yeah, I mean, for the Saints, I don't want Carr. Carr's never played good against the Chiefs. You go back to his Raider days, never played good against the Chiefs. Whatever it is, the scheme just doesn't fit him. So I wouldn't play him as your number one for sure. Not to say he's not going to throw touchdowns. Just I don't think he's going to throw as much as you need to put up 30 points. Put Kamara in. I think Rashid is a good play in this one. Olave is the definite play in this one. You can't not play Olave. But I think Rashid is a good play in this one. A little over-the-top action. And then I think, is Taysom still inactive for this game? Or is he
that's
what
Brian said, yeah, it was a couple weeks with the fractured ribs. That's because I was wondering that too, and I heard him say that. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know that. So
gotcha. Okay, well, shoot. That throws that out there. But we had our Taysom Hill game last week. We don't need another Taysom Hill game for another 4 or 5 weeks, right? Like playoff time, that's Taysom Hill week. But yeah, I mean, I don't want Juwan Johnson, and the Saints defense might be a good play because Mahomes has been throwing interceptions at an alarming rate. I don't know what it is. If he's just like kind of gotten too much into his head and said, oh, I can do whatever I want in this league, but he is throwing a lot of interceptions this year. On the Kansas City side, I like Kelsey. Kelsey obviously came back. I like Hunt, as I said before. And then, as far as receivers go, this could easily be Xavier Worthy's breakout week. I would love breakout week from Xavier Worthy. I don't want to touch Juju Smith-Schuster or Justin Watson or Noah Gray, all these people that everybody's saying come pick up before I see anything from it, because last week Juju didn't catch a ball. Justin Watson had 3.4 points. Rashee Rice went down early, guys. There was a lot of time for these guys to do stuff, and they didn't do shit. So I'm going to say hold off on those guys. If you got them, great, but bench them until you see something.
Yeah, totally agree. Especially Kamara. It's funny you were talking about Juwan Johnson, because I'm like, he's that guy though. It's like the minute we're like, nah, let's do it, and then it's that week where you see he has a great week and you see him sitting there on the waiver wire with all them damn points, and you got nothing in your tight end slot, and you're like, oh my god. He's always end up being that guy. Could be a good matchup for him, but especially to Taysom Hill out, but. We'll see. I'm sure we'll talk about it next week, obviously. And other than that, like you mentioned, I think I like Xavier Worthy here. I think the Saints are actually going to have I think it's going to be a good matchup, quite frankly. So, Chris Olave, definitely like him a lot in this as well. So, we'll see in this one, but I agree with everything you pretty much said. I don't really have any trust in Juju and anyone else. Right now, you gotta kind of prove it to do something. We shall see. Listen, we appreciate all of your questions. Thanks for sticking with us tonight. Wake up with us Sunday morning, nice and early at 8 a.m. We're going to have all the picks of the week. We're going to have betting, of course, your lineup questions. Brian will be back to do a more in-depth inside the medical tent, so we can talk about some of those injuries coming up for the day. Of course, we got our fantasy friends. Ariel will be in as well to give some great betting lines for you as well, so you can make some money on Sunday, which we all like. So make sure you check out. So jam-packed, I got to get it all in. So make sure you come wake up with us. Great way to start your NFL Sunday. Before we close things out, however, like to do things like we do every week. It's Friday night. Get your dancing shoes on, because DJ Chuck Bass is about to play the fantasy hits.
Welcome to Playing the Hits, Week 5. I hope you guys have been tailing my picks, because we've been on fire. We gave out Justin Fields last week. We gave out Andy Dalton. We're going to keep bringing that hot fire all season long. This week, I've got another great one in store for you. It's long shot season, triple A's this week. We're giving out 3 A-rated players, and we're going to finish top of the class. First up, Alexander Madison. Who else is giving out Alexander Madison? You tell me, and I'll show you a liar. He's got an all-right matchup against the Denver Broncos, but this is 2 passing attacks that don't actually exist. All they can do is run the ball. And with Zamir White out of the picture and Devontae Adams and trade rumors, this is a pound-the-rock game for the Raiders. This is a volume play, Alexander Madison. Next up, Antonio Gibson. He's suspected to potentially be the starter against the Miami Dolphins, although I'm sure we'll still see some Ramondre Stevenson. However, the Dolphins' run defense has been pitiful. Gibson is a nice two-way player, and it's really all they can do. Once again, a volume play. Lastly, to round out our A-boys, our top of the top, the creme de la creme, homie, Austin Eckler. I cannot stop giving out the man who can do it all. Brian Robinson banged up. Jeremy Nichols cannot do diddly squat. And this is a nice matchup against a Cleveland Browns defense that has basically fallen off this year. No Deshaun Watson means this team is no bueno. I like Austin Eckler in a high-scoring matchup to get goal line work and to catch those beautiful balls from our boy Jaden Daniels. Alexander Madison, Antonio Gibson, Austin Eckler, triple A rated bonds. Do not short this shit. Chuck Bass playing the hits. Week 5, go get it.
Chuck Bass playing the hits on a Friday night. He's been money all season, so make sure you check him out on social media. This guy sucks FF, I believe he is on Twitter, if I said that right. Chuck Bass. YouTube as well, so go check him out. All right, guys, once again, don't forget morning we'll have all the greatest and latest, and of course your lineup questions as well. Of course, you can check us out next Friday when we break down week 6. So we appreciate you. From us to you, we are out.